What is up, guys? Thank you so much for tuning in to No Longer Stranded. I am your host, Stephanie. Today, we're going to talk about stop getting high. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I posted a video called Stop Being Denial. Now, when you're denial, it leads to you thinking problems within you do not exist. In reality check, they do. Just like I said in my post, which leads to you constantly distracting yourself, which is like going to the gym or going to a party, going out drinking, smoking with your friends, whatever it is that you do to distract yourself, you're still denying yourself. And it slowly leads to insecurities and emotional repression. So if you learn to accept that you have issues within you and learn to deal with it and stop being denial, you'll come a long way. So when I have this title here, Stop Getting High, I don't mean in the sense of substance abuse. You know, everybody hears high and they hear you're drunk, you're high, you're smoking weed, you're on some type of substance. But the problem here is with self-help. I'm not talking about getting high in a sense of, like I said, taking pills or smoking. I'm talking about stop feeding into these self-help motivational stuff that's also a distraction. Now, don't get me wrong. We listen to these self-help things to like spoil ourselves. Like they say, go out, go work out, find a hobby. And it's all good, but those are things that you should add to your stuff. And there's a big emphasis on add. Add it onto it, but don't use that as a guide to distract you. You're just continuously distracting yourself, and you're denying the problems that you need to fix within yourself. So you have to add these things. Fix you, spend some time with you, figure out what the problem is, and then add to the problem by going to work out, by going to the beach and reading a book or finding a hobby. Those are the type of things you need to do to add on to what you're fixing within yourself. Now, with that being said, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I myself was getting high. And not high off of substance abuse, high off of distracting my mind. You know, I was in my last physical relationship. We ended up going to court. We ended up doing the whole nine. It was a really bad experience. But I spent 2 weeks in bed. And then I decided, you know what? I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be this way. So I went out and I started drinking, and then I started finding new hobbies. I played basketball again, but I was still hurting from the situation. I was still upset. And every time I stopped playing, every time I stopped hitting up the basketball courts, every time I stopped drinking, every time I stopped linking up with my friends, the minute I was alone and with my thoughts, everything came crumbling down. I was constantly sad, upset. I didn't want to leave my bed again. And then my alarm would go off for the next morning to start my whole day again. And I didn't want to get up because I was up all night overthinking and being in my head with all these thoughts about myself and the situation and all these insecurities, But then a friend would hit me up, oh, let's go drink, or let's go play basketball, let's go do something. And I would jump to it. I would jump to hanging out. I would jump to playing this because it was a distraction. So I started also reading like a lot of self-help poetry, self-help books. Well, I wasn't really reading books like that, but I was reading like the Instagram quotes that they have on the Instagram stories and stuff like that. And I was like, yep, save that for later. I screenshot it, save it for later. I have a whole album of screenshots of quotes that just sit there. I don't even know why. I just screenshotted because I was feeling it in the moment. I never looked back at it, nothing. But I was doing this myself, and reading this book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck helped me realize, wow, I really didn't change back then. I thought I did, but it was because I was denying myself. I was denying that I had problems within myself that I had to work on, such as the issues that I went through with her. I had a lot of trust issues because of her, with a lot of things that we went through, and all I did was distract myself. I never really sat there and open up the wound and really figure out what was going on, not with just her, but with me and what we both did. It was just, again, like I said, it was just a distraction. That's everything that I've done. That's what it was. It was a distraction. And a high becomes addictive, So what did I do? I went out more. I was hardly home. I was never home. The only time I was home was like 3, 4 in the morning to get maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep to do the same thing all over again the next day. I was constantly distracting myself and moving on from the emotions by going out drinking, trying to find some new party to go to, trying to find a new club to go to, trying to find a new girl to hop onto. The only great outcome that came out of this was that I used school as a distraction as well, and I was able to get my GED. So that's one great outcome out of that. But at the end of the day, everything else was still, a distraction. It was still a distraction for the simple fact that I was still hurting. The minute I was alone with my thoughts was the minute I wanted to get up and go and distract myself again. And the self-help quotes, all those was very, very helpful. But it wasn't as helpful as I thought it was. Like now, where I'm at right now, I actually sat there. I'm not completely healed, but I sat there and I've healed myself from some of my past traumas. And now that I'm reading the self-help books, it's good because it's like I'm actually exercising them. They're an additional thing to my happiness. And the thing to your happiness is you. You're the key to your happiness. So once you figure yourself out, and then you start adding these things like going to the gym and actually having a genuine time with your friends and doing things that are good for your mental state and physically, it's a wonderful feeling. But until you sit there with yourself and with your thoughts and stop denying the fact that there's no problems within you, it's never going to help. All it is just going to be quotes. All it is just going to be a screenshot of photos sitting in an album that you never open up. And that's exactly why you need to become one with yourself. But being back to my old self, being in that moment, those distractions made me feel good. They made me feel amazing. But that's all it was just a feeling for that second. And it will go away. It disappears when you get back home. Because you're not focusing on the actual problem. You're distracting it. You're blocking it. So I would go home and that happiness would just disappear. And when I do something that would make me feel bad, it wouldn't be bad. And let me elaborate on this. And when I say when you do something that feels good, but it doesn't mean it's going to feel good forever, because the feeling will go away. What I mean by that is exactly what I've been doing, which is back then, like the whole not really being in touch with myself and not really figuring out my problems and healing my problems. It was more of distractions. So it felt good, but it didn't last long. And then when I say by just because you're doing something that's bad, it may not be bad, would be like, for example, when somebody who would come into my life, it made me feel like they might have a little toxic trait to them. And it's like, am I mentally prepared for another heartbreak? Do I really want to deal with this? I would pull myself away from that person. That wasn't necessarily bad, but I'd feel bad. Because it's like, damn, I didn't want somebody to pull away from me. And then that's how I continued to stay in these toxic traits, because I felt bad. So I went back. I'd go back when part of me knew I should have left. Part of me knew I should have left them behind and let them go. But I didn't. I went back, and then I got myself in another toxic trait, another toxic relationship, even friendships as well. It's a whole cycle that we constantly put ourselves through because we feel bad for feeling bad, and then we feel good for certain things, but then we come back home and we're sad. And it only lasts just a moment for that simple fact that you're not entirely healed within yourself. You have to find the root of that problem. You have to dig deep and figure out the issue within you, within that situation, and within that person. And heal yourself and help yourself get through that. Because you can get through it. It's all a game we allow ourselves to continue playing with ourselves. So stop playing games with yourself and start healing yourself. Stop being high. Take a break from that. Act like you have a drug test and figure your shit out. Figure yourself out. Pull yourself together and make this happen, because it can happen. That's exactly what I did. Once I finally realized, like, I'm using all these tactics as distractions, and I came to that realization, I started making actions. I started isolating myself. I became very lonely. Like, I already felt lonely as it was, but I had my family, I had my friends, and I still felt lonely, but that was because of the depression. I became very lonely in the sense of I took myself out of those situations so I could become more myself. And honestly, it wasn't easy. It was not an easy process. I was definitely more depressed. And I felt more alone because I made myself feel more alone. But I knew it's something I had to do in order to recover, in order to actually sit there and figure me out. And it was a whole awakening, but it needed to be done. And it still needs to be done. There's days that I still do that because, like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not entirely healed. It's a working progress, and nobody's ever perfect. But I just want to help you guys get to that point where you feel like, okay, I could do this, because you can do this. You hold yourself together and you can do this, and understand that you're not alone. There are people, there are resources, there are therapists, there are friends out there, anything, podcasts such as this one, YouTube channels. You just got to put the work in, not just use it as a distraction. One other thing that I noticed that I use as a distraction, well, what I did use as a distraction, was the Instagram influencers. And I'm putting air quotes around this because there's some influencers out there that are not even influencing you to do anything. And we use that Instagram, we use that page to distract us because they're giving us a quick little laugh with whatever funny their video they're doing. And I'm not gonna lie, I watch those videos all the time. Why? Because they are funny. They are funny. They are something that can help you escape for that moment. But listen to what I just said. Help you escape for that moment. And if you're not completely healed, that's all you're doing is escaping for the moment. And you're continuously following these people, adding these people and laughing at their videos to then come home, and at nighttime, what are you doing? You're not laughing, you're crying. You're crying yourself to sleep. You're overthinking about yourself. You're feeling insecure. You're feeling down. You're feeling alone. You feel unloved. So you're just like, instead of healing myself, let me just open up another funny video from this Instagram influencer and just laugh. But you need to follow the actual influencers that put in work to help you guys find solutions to your healing, to help you guys find that cure, that heal, that happiness within yourself, and that's one of the things I've done. I did that so many times where I watched so many videos to just laugh, back then when Vine was a thing. I was always on Vine, then the beginning of quarantine, I was still depressed and TikTok became the thing. And, I used that as a distraction. That's all it was a distraction. Or we use music. We use music as a distraction as well. And a lot of the times you're listening to what emotion you're feeling. So if you're feeling sad, you're going to listen to a sad song. And if somebody broke your heart, you're listening to a sad song that reminds you of them. And I did that so many times. I had a whole playlist that I made for somebody, and all I did was listen to it on repeat every single day and just sit there and like, damn, I really messed this one up, when I didn't. And that's just what we do. We use things as a distraction instead of really focusing on the problem and fixing it. We avoid it. And like I said in the very beginning, season 1, on my introduction, I told you guys, what we do is we throw things under the rug and we continue piling that stuff under the rug until it's too high and we realize we need to clean this mess up. And we got to do all that digging to get to the bottom. Don't do that to yourself. Don't overwork yourself when you don't have to. When you see a problem, just get on it. Figure it out. Feel your feelings. Understand your feelings. Accept the fact that it's okay to have feelings. It's okay to feel what you feel. And take the steps to work on it. To push forward, to make the outcome better for you. Not for them. You know, if someone did do you wrong, someone did hurt you, maybe they're going through something themselves. You know, we're all human. Everybody goes through things. And everybody's reactions is not the same. So maybe the way they react to a certain thing is not a way you would react to it, but it's obvious that they're going through something. So if you're trying to heal and you're with somebody who's going through something and they're not treating you right because they're going through that, whatever they're going through, forgive them, but forgive yourself first for allowing it to happen for however long it was happening for, and let it go and move forward and focus on you. And when you focus on you, you're going to find people, friends, families, relationships, you're going to find people who are on the same level as you, and it's just going to help you. Trust me, it's going to help you. Because when you're depressed, when you're sad, you surround yourself with people who are also depressed and sad. And guess what? You stay in that same position because none of you are moving up. None of you are taking the initiative to be like, hey, you know what, guys? We're all sad. Let's figure this out together. Instead, you're just like, let's go get drunk and stay sad forever. No. Work on yourself. I know because I did that plenty of times. So many times. You know, and it's crazy because it's like the new me now, I'll listen to sad songs. And before, like I said earlier, would make me think about my ex or someone I dedicated that song to or the situation, whatever it was, it just made me think of the past. And now when I hear a sad song or I hear a song that's talking about missing the other person, and it's like, I think of my old self. I think of my old self hurting my new self. And I don't ever want to feel that pain from myself ever again. So that helps me. That motivates me to continue pushing forward. And I don't know about y'all, but that's deep. To hear a sad song and think about your old self versus a past relationship. I don't know. That's growth. And I just hope that you guys get to that point. And I hope that this helps you guys get to that point. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you guys have any questions, you guys have any topics you want to talk about, you want to be interviewed, you just want to talk, you could go ahead and email me at strengtheningwithsteph@gmail.com or follow my Instagram, strengtheningwithsteph, or my second Instagram, no longer stranded. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day.